Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Lavinia, and I'd like to thank you for stopping by. Today, I have a couple of, I wouldn't say huge announcements. We had a pretty productive week. I've written a lot. Clearly, I haven't finished cleaning up my desk, though. Part of the, I'm spoiled because some platforms will let me blur out the background a bit. But clearly this one is not one of them. So this right here, that computer you see kind of on its side and apart, is going to be a new NAS that I'm going to build. I'm probably going to. I have a 4 terabyte drive. I'm going to drop in it, and I had it open, and I just kids, all that sort of thing, kind of came to mind. And I'm in the middle of going to rehang properly this time. You'll notice that the School of Athens photo is no longer there, or painting was no longer there. Uh, it fell down the other day. I haven't had a chance to fix it, but there's also some other all wall art I want to put up, including this, which would maybe be my favorite thing of all time. Um, the this old classic, which serves as a reminder of the tech hype cycle not being anything new, as well as a reminder that uh, things are never as bad as they seem. Once again, my name is Frank Lavinia. If you're new to the channel, show, whatever, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I am currently at, I think, 400 subscribers on YouTube, and I've decided, you know what? I'm gonna take some of my energy and try to get to 500. Right? I don't think it's a big lift. I have about 15,000 connections on LinkedIn. Pretty sure if I get just 1% of that, I can get to my 500 mark. And I plan to do more with, if not YouTube, definitely more live streaming and things like that. And if you listen to the podcast, Data Driven, um, um, all right, I see I have some comments. Um, thank you. So if you listen to the podcast Data Driven, where is it? We had 2 shows this week, which would make um, this month. Um, let's see, this month one of the most productive ever. We've had a great run of shows, 2 live streams with Andy. I did a live stream with Andy on Tuesday. Couldn't think about that for a second. And then we recorded the show and I released it right away because why not, right? Um, and the other thing that's been going on is if you go to Frank's World, and I kind of talked about this in a previous podcast or show, you will notice that I am at 228 blog posts for November. Now, in a previous live stream, I demoed Dingo, which let's do that again today because um, I'm just feeling that generative. So if I go here, not to that window, but I launch a new terminal. Um, I can kind of show Dingo. Okay. CD repos. Or do I have it? I have it in my downloads folder. My bad. See, does this work in Windows? CD down. So while you're watching me do this, not dire directory. Dingo Pi. I got to clean up a lot of this code. Here we go. All right. So what you should see in a second is the GUI pull up. But one of the things that's helped me kind of do this is I'll go to franksworld.tv and dun dun dun. Bear with me. Bear with me. All right, there you go. So copy that link address. I will go into Dingo. I'll paste this and click post. Now I know the user interface is ugly. I'm not denying that. But it was my first TK application that to this day remains. I think I've only done 2 or 3, right? I'm actually going to, I am this close to this making the decision on am I going to open source Dingo or not. And if you look, I'm going to log into my WordPress site. Just give me a second. And you will see right here, you will see that I have taken that URL and it basically has created a blog post for me. So the only thing I have to do is just put a category on it. I actually found out code to do this, live stream, and I'll just tag that with live stream. And if I hit the thumbnail's already there, publish, boom. Oh, I hit publish twice. And if we go back to Frank's World, there it is. And that puts me at 229 blog posts for the month of November, which, boys and girls, is a record, a new record. Previous record was 227, but I figured it'd be kind of cool to do it live here. This also leads me into how I get to this level of posts, this many posts. Now, how I do it is basically I go and I find interesting videos on YouTube, and I go and I basically act as a kind of aggregator. Now, clearly, I have proven that I can blog consistently and at a high scale. But I think starting in January, I'm going to change my focus to more pithy commentary, more pithy blog post writing, because I think there's multiple reasons for that. One, I don't like how YouTube is handling the whole ad block war. I think that I don't like some of the decisions they've made. I understand them. I don't like some of their reactions. So sometimes the cure is worse than the actual problem, right? The solution is actually worse than the problem. I think they're going full on in that route. Now, in more positive news, I did mention earlier today on LinkedIn that I have now hit, let's see, there you go. I am now on 400 days of consecutive learning on Pluralsight. And I was introduced to Pluralsight many, many years ago. And so far this year, I've hit 225 hours total. This is my total content consumed. I think for this year, I'm only at like 100. But I wanted to point out that, these aren't just vanity metrics, right? This is really about my commitment to lifelong learning. That when I found myself 7 or 8 years ago in a situation where all the skills I had were focused around Windows development, XAML, Silverlight, Windows Phone, that sort of thing. And I kind of had, I would say, I wouldn't say I rested on my laurels, but I definitely kind of coasted, right? There was definitely a lot of things in web development that I just didn't really interest me. It wasn't until I discovered AI that I was like, oh, wow, or machine learning as it was known back then, that I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And it is a fast moving field. It's very exciting, works for my shorter attention span. And I have basically been committed to this. So I had a Pluralsight account reactivated when I was at the MTC at Microsoft. They gave it all to MTC architects. And that was when I discovered this page here where they go. And let me go to this section here where they basically kind of have gamified it, right? So I have they do trophies, these are the it's silly, it's stupid, but it gives you that little push of dopamine that makes it do this, right? And when I had 199, right, or 99, right, I was like, just one more day. Now I'm not gonna lie, some days I watch for 5 minutes, Some days I watch for 5 hours. Those tend to be very rare, but just setting aside some time for self development and growth has done wonders for my career, my life, just my well being and happiness. And to that end, I say, I appropriated this graphic here. Always be learning. And I think that that's an important message to take away. Now, the other thing, speaking of always be learning, I don't make any money off this, but I just the shout out to Andy, my co-host, who's put up with me for 7 seasons on Data Driven. He's doing a course on mastering the fundamentals of Azure Data Factory. It's next week. I'm going to be on vacation, somewhere warmer, which, if the astute among you will notice that I have a nice heavy hoodie, um, when in fact it's actually closer to 50 degrees here in suburban Maryland. And it's cold in here because I have the doggy door wide open to let dogs run in and out. They've been having a party, including the dingo, which is named after the software product is named after. Um, but let me know. I'm still contemplating the future of Dingo and kind of the future of blogging. Every time I think, like, you know what, I'm just going to stop this. I'm going to kind of like not stop blogging, but like kind of dial back, because people say like, oh no, this is great. Actually, last year at reInvent, almost a year ago to the day, um, I spoke at reInvent, and somebody comes up to me and it's like, I love your blog. I love your blog. I subscribe to it. And I'm always getting notifications that you're publishing. I love what you're doing. Because like there was this time last year, I was like, well, I kind of proved I can do 100 plus blog posts per month, and it's just me. I automated a lot of this, and I'm like, I'll keep doing it for another year. But I think this year, I wanted to prove that I can further automate it. I made some improvements to Dingo to kind of speed the process along. In fact, you saw how quickly I can get a blog post out. And I don't know, like, let me know what you think. There's other things I think I can do that can add value. And another thing I would like to point out, if I can find it, bear with me. So I saw this here, and this is my Twitter feed or X feed. And oh, look, there I am just a few minutes ago. Hello, past Frank. And you know what? Hello, future Frank. Anyway, this is an interesting post that I saw. It was from David Fowler. And the long and short of it is that the software engineers wanted to use, all the engineers wanted to use C Sharp, but the CTO didn't like Microsoft. And as someone who used to work for Microsoft, used to be an evangelist for Microsoft, I can tell you that this sort of thing happened more often than I care to admit. But what's interesting about this is that if you look at this, right, if you just take a look at this objectively, right, and as someone, and I guess, as a former C Sharp developer, it's hard for me to take this objectively, but the whole idea is that one language could run across these different platforms, including desktop applications, web apps. Xamarin lets you do the mobile apps, and you really just don't have to do this, and you can even do embedded Linux. But if you look at this, for a small team to master all of these different technologies, Java, C Sharp, C++, and the native written in Flutter, it just didn't seem practical, right? Now, there's a whole debate on this original thread. I kind of tweeted a snarky thing like people still write desktop apps. That was my snarky contribution. But then I retweeted it or quote tweeted it, whatever this is, or re-xed it, whatever this is called. I was just saying, the CTOs, it's really a failure of leadership from the CTO, regardless of your personal feeling about a particular company. Um, you have to trust your engineers. Otherwise, what are you doing? I don't know what happened at the end of the story or what happened to the project, but I've been on projects personally where there were people. I was a last consulting gig I had was this gig where there was a chief of product development, basically not the CTO, but he thought he was a CTO. They hired a CTO above him after the underling guy had decided he was going to write everything in Java because he was a longtime Java programmer. The CTO was like a big time Microsoft fan, so he's like, everything's going to be in C Sharp. It's going to be done in ASP.NET, MVC. And at every stage, this guy would sabotage the project because he didn't like C Sharp. He wanted to do it in Java. And that sort of childishness, I mean, I like to say I'm matured beyond it, things like that. But that sort of childishness is what drove me away from front end development, right? I mean, one of my first kind of meetups in the Angular space was an Angular meetup in Chevy Chase, Maryland, where just on the outskirts of DC, where they basically the debate was, this was when there was Angular used regular JavaScript, and then some new version had implemented TypeScript, right? Now, I know TypeScript has now fallen out of favor, but this is back when it was falling in favor. And there was this debate about these different people arguing over these different frameworks. And it was also at the time when there were things like Aurora, Meteor JS, React JS, Angular. There was all these different frameworks to do basically the same thing. And while that sort of thing is nice, the thing that I found frustrating was I looked at the career paths and it's kind of like you had to pick one, and that was it. I don't know what the front end of the world is like now, but data science, AI, as difficult as it is to get your heads around the mathematical concept of it, there are hard, sharp edges to it. At least there, I can understand the sharp edges, right? Like if I'm just slinging the HTML, shouldn't be that hard to do, right? It's largely a solved problem. It's a solved problem, at least in my mind. 5, 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, we should focus a lot of our. This is me on a soapbox. Focus on the unsolved problems. So that's what appealed to me about AI and data science. Speaking of milestones, I mentioned 400 days, show 349 of the podcast. Congratulations to Andy and me. I guess that sounds weird, right? Congratulating myself. But with that, I have got some writing to do, and I've got some cool stuff to work on. And let me know in the comments below. Thank you. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment on whatever platform you're watching this. And I hope you're having a fantastic week. And see you next time.